Vietnamese Tết is a traditional celebration of New Year for Vietnamese people. This is also an opportunity for Vietnamese families to reunite after a busy year. For foreigners living here, Vietnamese Tết is an interesting experience and leaves them a strong impression of this unique traditional culture. Having lived in Vietnam for 25 years, Vietnamese culture and identity have become familiar to the French writer Francis Renaud. Especially, in every New Year, he has more and more interesting traditional Tết experience with his family. Sharing Vietnam today will share the Vietnamese impression in the heart of the French writer. Welcome to Sharing Vietnam on VTC 10 Net Viet channel. First of all, I would like to wish all of our audience a happy and prosperous New Year. In our program today, we would like to welcome Mr. Francis Renaud, a French writer who has connected with Vietnam for more than 25 years. Let's follow his sharing about the country, the culture, and also the people of Vietnam. Thank you very much for joining our program today, Mr. Francis.
Thanks to you for inviting me.
So being in the middle of two options, first, either to move out of the country to take a new position or to change your job to stay in Vietnam. Why did you choose the second option?
Actually, there are two reasons. The first reason is that when this question came to me, that was a very long time ago, and at that time Vietnam was just opening. So it is true that in terms of business there were plenty of opportunities. It was a new country with an incredible energy. And on top of it, maybe that could be the first reason, is I really like this country, the people, the energy which was everywhere here, and this impression to be in a very special country which doesn't look like any other one. Moreover, with a kind of connection with France, because I'm French, and so of course we have a history with Vietnam. We all have Vietnamese friends in France, connections. Some of my family members lived in Vietnam a long time ago. So before coming, I had an attachment. And when I came, I had even more attachment.
So what was your first impression about Vietnam people or Vietnam life?
No, the first impression I had was the energy of the people and the capacity to overcome difficult situations. There was an incredible feeling here that you could see that this country, of course, was totally destroyed by, for plenty of reasons. It was very much backward. But you could feel behind an incredible energy from the people in particular. Even the cyclo driver was clever and strong. And there are not so many countries where you have that.
So have your feeling or thought towards the people here changed, or is it the same?
No, just the same and even stronger. You know, the time, on the contrary, the time is a test. After time, you know whether your friends are real friends or not. You need time and experience. And what I have noted from my Vietnamese friends is that the more we go in time, and the more they are faithful, and the more they are true. And no, I was not at all disappointed. I mean, if I had been disappointed, I would have left. Of course, nothing is perfect. It's like everywhere in the world, you have some problems sometimes, but in general, I find the people very faithful and also very respectful of the foreigners. They leave you in peace. As long as you like the country, you respect the country, they don't try to impose you this or that. They live your life. And that's very pleasant. It makes a good basis for a relationship.
Over 25 years living in Vietnam, I'm sure Tet holiday is not a new word to you. So could you share a little bit about your feeling towards this special occasion?
Somehow destroyed. We live in much more individualistic countries, which has good points and negative points. And the negative points is that the family tends to slow down, And you still have in Vietnam these strong family values. Tet is a way to express these family values. And that's beautiful. There's something strong which happens in Tet. And every year it's always very nice and strong. Plus these yellow colors everywhere, these flowers everywhere. It's really beautiful. There is a lot of poetry behind that.
So I think Lunar New Year and Tet in Vietnam is a very special time for the local people. I think it's very exciting to see how they clean their homes and they prepare food and they prepare to meet with their families. And they travel far away to visit their hometowns. So I think it's a great time. And also there's a lot of good food during Tet, so I'm excited to try that.
I think the Vietnamese culture is seen much more stronger in Lunar New Year because everything is so colorful, so beautiful, flowers everywhere, traditional attire. I think the culture is even more enhanced and more empowered through the Lunar New Year.
In 1991, Mr. Francis officially came to Vietnam as an ANZ bank manager, one of the French banks based in Ho Chi Minh City. After a 5-year term, he should have left, but he decided to stay in Vietnam. Even though he had to give up the job that was probably the job position in many people's dreams. Loving Saigon and loving Vietnamese culture and country, young Francis at that time chose Ho Chi Minh City to be his home. This place also lit the fire of passion for literature existing in him, from which gave birth to autobiographies and repertoire of French talk shows in the heart of Ho Chi Minh City. So is your decision of becoming a writer, playwright, interpreter on stage has something to do with Vietnam, or is there any other reasons?
Alors, it's an interesting question because you know, Vietnam, for many foreigners, including myself, is a country where you can realize a kind of dream you have in your head. Everyone has this dream. For some people, it's to set up a family, to set up a business, to set up an association. For me, I had a kind of a family story to solve, and that's how I wrote the book on my father's story. And because here in Vietnam, I had a kind of distance and a kind of a peaceful environment where I could concentrate very quietly on my intellectual activity. Besides that, I've always had a passion for French language. And especially there is one part of the French language which is very colorful, with a lot of images. And it's a kind of old-fashioned way of speaking. It comes from the literature. It comes from the people originally, but it was developed in the literature. And we call it the green language. And surprisingly, when I came to Vietnam, there was a combination of things here which were giving me a lot of inspiration to the French language. Surprisingly, I came to Vietnam to rediscover the French culture. Why? Because first there were quite a lot of old people, Vietnamese, speaking French, with an incredible level of French, speaking a very smart French, which does not exist in France anymore. Nobody talks like that. So there was something quite romantic behind that. And besides, it may look surprising, but you know, in the very early days, there were plenty of small bookshops everywhere, notably on Dong Khoi Street, where you could find some old French books, and I found incredible books written in an incredible language. And moreover, there were some dictionaries, for example, Annamite French Annamite, and these dictionaries were written by old priests, Vietnamese, and there's incredible source of expressions and images, and I focused very much on that, and thanks to that, I have enlarged my vocabulary somehow. And of course, Vietnam gave me an incredible opportunity. And there is another reason, maybe a third reason, is that, you know how it came to me, it's very special. When there is an occasion, for example, a birthday or a wedding party or opening party of a restaurant or housewarming party, there is always a party among friends. And I started very early to make a small speech every time. I was doing a small speech for my friends, and I was doing it in this language and in rhymes. It's poetry, actually. What I do is poetry. It's poetry in this language. And everybody liked it very much. And that's how, step by step, I started to do that more and more. And that's how finally I ended up making shows, because there were some people who liked it and told me, you should make a show for everybody.
So have you ever tried to experience other type of cultures in Vietnam, whether traditional or modern?
To be honest, the pure traditional culture is a bit difficult for me because at the end of the day, I'm not Vietnamese, I don't understand everything. Bon, my Vietnamese is not very good, to be honest, and I feel sorry about that. But anyway, so this is quite difficult for me to understand. On the other hand, I have seen some festivals of shows combining tradition and modernity. For example, the bamboo show, the Ao show, which I found absolutely fascinating. Everything was fascinating. This way to combine precisely this tradition, this know-how from tradition, combined with modern music, modern choreography, and modern lightnings, and that was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, using the traditional props as well.
Yes, exactly. And I think this is where Vietnam is very good. This ability that Vietnam has to let's say, import some modern things, but to remain faithful to its own traditions. And this is so important. And it's also one of the reasons why I think many foreigners are happy here, because they are in a country where they still have some strong traditions, and this is important for the stability and for the mind of the people. Because when you have the rules, your brain is much more peaceful. In the Western world, we have a problem because we have somehow destroyed many rules. And at the end, every individual is asking him plenty of questions about his life, his fate. While when you follow your culture, you have more time to relax and to try to do something more constructive rather than thinking of yourself and your own problems.
Thank you very much for taking your time to share your experience in Vietnam and very inspiring story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you, and I'm very flattered that you invited me, and I'm happy to have been able to share my experience with you. Thank you very much, and most important, Happy New Year to everybody. I wish you a lot of happiness, success, health in your beautiful country.
Thank you very much for following our program today. I wish you all a year full of bliss and joy. Thank you very much.